The first night they slept in the car. It rained so hard that Sarah thought the sky itself was grieving with them. Water slid down the cracked windshield of their old blue sedan, blurring the parking lot lights into streaks of gold and white. In the backseat, 8-year-old Liam tried to be brave. He held his little sister Emma close, whispering stories about superheroes who lived in secret cars and only came out at night to save the world. But even superheroes couldn't stop the cold from creeping through the doors. 3 months earlier, they had a home. It wasn't perfect. The paint peeled in the kitchen, and the heater rattled every winter. But it was theirs. Then the factory where Daniel worked for 11 years shut down without warning. Temporary closure, they called it. Temporary turned permanent. Savings disappeared faster than hope. Rent piled up. Late notices turned into eviction papers taped to their door like a final sentence. Sarah remembered the knock from the landlord that day. Firm. Impersonal. Final. Now, the only knocks they heard were from strangers tapping on the car window, telling them they couldn't park there overnight. They learned which grocery store lots were safest, which gas stations wouldn't ask questions, which churches left their outdoor lights on, offering silent permission to stay. They folded blankets into makeshift pillows. They turned plastic grocery bags into insulation. Pride became a luxury they could no longer afford. Daniel searched for work every morning at the public library. Construction jobs, warehouse shifts, delivery routes, anything. He shaved in the restroom sink, buttoned his only clean shirt, and walked into interviews pretending he had somewhere to go back to at night. Sometimes he almost believed it himself. Sarah picked up small cleaning jobs when she could. She told the kids they were camping for a while. Emma believed her. Liam didn't. One evening, as they sat inside the car sharing a single cheeseburger divided into 4 pieces, Liam asked quietly, "Dad, did we do something wrong?" Daniel's throat closed. "No, buddy. Sometimes life just knocks you down." "And does it knock you back up?" Liam whispered. Daniel looked at the dark sky, at the faint stars fighting to be seen through city glow. "Yeah," he said finally. "It does." But that night, when everyone else slept, Daniel didn't believe his own words. The car smelled like damp fabric and exhaustion. The world felt loud and indifferent. Months passed. Birthdays were celebrated with dollar store. Candles stuck into convenience store cupcakes. Christmas came and went with no tree, just whispered promises of next year. They were invisible, until the night someone knocked. It wasn't the sharp knock of authority or the impatient tap of security. It was gentle, deliberate, and it would change everything. The knock came just after 9 p.m. Daniel froze in the driver's seat. Sarah's hand instinctively tightened around Emma. Liam sat up slowly, eyes wide. Another knock. Soft. Steady. Daniel rolled down the window halfway, heart pounding. A man stood outside beneath the glow of a streetlight. Mid-40s. Simple jacket. Kind eyes. "I'm sorry to bother you," the stranger said. "My name's Michael." Daniel nodded cautiously. "We are leaving." "No," Michael replied quickly. "That's not why I'm here." There was something different about him. He wasn't frowning. He wasn't judging. He wasn't looking through them. He was looking at them. "I've seen you here for a few weeks," Michael said gently. "I volunteer at the community center down the street." Sarah felt her stomach twist. "We don't want trouble." "You're not in trouble." He paused. "I just wanted to ask. Would you let me help?" The words hung in the air like something fragile. Help. Daniel's first instinct was pride. They had managed this long. They weren't beggars. They weren't helpless. But then Emma coughed from the backseat. A deep, tired cough. Michael glanced at the kids and swallowed. "I grew up in a car too," he said quietly. "My mom and I. For almost a year." Daniel blinked. "I remember how invisible it feels," Michael continued. "And I promised myself that if I ever got steady on my feet, I'd knock on someone else's window one day." Silence wrapped around them. "What kind of help?" Sarah finally asked. Michael smiled softly. "A friend of mine owns a small duplex. One side's been empty for months. It's nothing fancy, but it's warm. And it's yours if you want it. No deposit." No rent for the first 3 months. Daniel stared at him, certain he'd misheard. That's not possible, he whispered. It is, Michael said. There's just one condition. Sarah's heart dropped. You let people help you. Tears filled her eyes before she could stop them. Michael reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small set of keys. The metal glinted under the streetlight like something unreal. I can take you there now, he said. Or tomorrow morning. Whatever feels right. Liam leaned forward, his small voice trembling. Is it a real house? Michael knelt slightly so he was eye level with him. Yeah, buddy. A real house. Emma started crying first. Then Sarah. Then Daniel. The weight of months, cold nights, silent shame. Whispered fears, cracked open all at once. Daniel stepped out of the car on shaky legs. For a moment, he just stood there in the parking lot. Rain beginning to fall lightly again. Life had knocked them down. But this time, it had knocked back. And it had brought keys. The duplex wasn't big. But to them, it felt like a palace. 2 small bedrooms. A living room with slightly worn carpet. A kitchen with cabinets that actually closed. The heater hummed softly as warm air filled the space for the first time in months. Emma ran in circles laughing. Liam pressed his hands against the walls as if making sure they were solid. Sarah stood in the doorway and covered her mouth. It smells like home, she whispered. Daniel couldn't speak. Michael handed him the keys officially at the front door. You don't owe me anything, he said firmly, as if reading Daniel's thoughts. Just promise me something. Daniel swallowed. Anything. When you're able, knock on someone else's door. That first night, they slept on donated air mattresses. It was the best sleep they'd had in months. No streetlights glaring through cracked glass. No engine noise. No fear of being told to move. Just quiet. The next morning, Daniel woke before sunrise. For the first time in a long time, he felt something stronger than fear. He felt responsibility. Within weeks, he found steady work at a local construction company. Sarah began helping at the community center, the same one where Michael volunteered. The kids started school again, shy at first, then smiling. 3 months later, Daniel insisted on paying rent. 6 months later, they signed a lease in their own name. But they never forgot. 1 year after that first knock, Daniel stood outside another car in a grocery store parking lot. Inside sat a young mother and her son, trying to stay warm. He hesitated for a moment, remembering his own fear. Then he knocked. Gently. When the window rolled down, he smiled the same way Michael had. My name's Daniel, he said softly. And I was wondering, would you let me help? Inside their duplex, above the small kitchen table, Sarah had hung a simple wooden sign. It read, Kindness is never wasted. Because sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't money. It isn't luck. It's a knock on the door. Or a window, from someone who remembers what it feels like to be invisible, and chooses to see you anyway.